welcome to the Music Scout with myself, Lewis Fisher, and I am back for another segment, episode 44, 43, 44, I believe it's 44, and yes, we've got 7 more artists for you, and 7 more songs just for you to indulge into and just have a lovely time. And we first off had 10-minute detour with their brand new single, Betty. This comes from their first debut album, their debut album that they brought out, and this is the single off of their new album that they're bringing out very soon. I've had the privilege to listen to it already, and it is a corker, I must say. It was very difficult to try and decide a single, and obviously I actually suggested Betty as a single, but there was a close second. And yeah, the album's going to be great. Small reminder, this is going completely off topic, so 10-minute detour and Betty, do go check out their first album as well. Small thing, if you do hear a cat that sounds like it's murdering someone or it's being murdered, firstly I apologise, but I am now living in Bicester, and where we are in Bicester, the cat meows like it's murdering itself, and I do apologise if that happens, but basically later on I'm going to ramble on a little bit and have a bit of a chat, because the Raja radio statistics came up for the third quarter, and yeah, I have some views on it, so I will leave it at that for now. But let's get into the next track by a man you've heard on this podcast before, by Mr. Christian Scott. So yes, folks, Christian Scott with the song The Cipher, taken from his second album of the year called The Emancipation Procrastination. And there's a song on this album called Cages. It's about 9.5 minutes long, which I would have loved to have played, but I already have an 8-minute song again in this episode. Spoilers. It's called Cages, and the drumming in it is insane. I just don't know how this guy does it for 9.5 minutes. It's like a reincarnation of The Funky Drummer by James Brown. It's literally something I can just never imagine myself playing, never imagine myself doing. It's just incredible, absolutely incredible. Do go check out The Emancipation Incarnation, or the other way around, and by Christian Scott. That was The Cipher, and I hope you enjoyed that sort of jazzy influence. I really, really like Christian Scott's work. Him and Braxton Cook are my two favourites in the sort of new era of jazz right now, and heavily, heavily supporting them. So do go check that out. It's a brand new album that came out last week, and that is one of the tracks off that album. Now we're going to move on to a track that I've had saved for some time but never got around to playing it, and I listened to it on the way home after getting the train from London. I thought this has to go in this week because it was insane. So sometimes things slip through the cracks with my New Jams playlist. Whenever I listen to new songs, I just put it into this New Jams playlist. If you want me to put it live, give you a little insight into what songs may be coming up on the podcast, I might leave it hanging around for you. If you'd like a link for it as well, do go and let me know if you want that, if by Twitter, Facebook or email. So this is going to be a band called I'm just going to try and pronounce this correctly. So Vukovi, 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 I'm going to call them. And this is a song called La Di Da. There is explicit naughty words in it, but it's too good not to play. So do enjoy it, and I'll speak to you in a bit.
Love me, you wanna leave, you wanna stay, but told everyone but me. Hate me, you waste of space. I wanna know, tell me to my fucking face. Woo! So let me get this straight. You wanna stay, you wanna go, just like before. Then I'm the one that's crazed. I'm in the dark. Well, you go straight back to her. I'm left high, and you left me dry. Oh, love me, you wanna leave, you wanna stay, but told everyone but me. Hate me, you waste of space. I wanna know, tell me to my fucking face. Let me get this straight, you trade me in, take me apart, and laugh it off. And I'm the one that's crazed and cracking up. Well, you go straight back to her. I'm left high, and you left me dry. Oh, love me, you wanna leave, you wanna stay, but told everyone but me. Hate me, you waste of space. I wanna know, tell me to my fucking face. La 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 la.
Yes, folks, Vukovi with their song La Di Da from their debut album, which is also called Vukovi, Vukovi. Do go check that out. It's just an awesome song. Those riffs and that power in that song. Love the vocalist as well. She's got that grit, bit of sass about her. I do love a bit of sass, I have to admit. Anyway, so before I play a double header, and I'll get into the reason why a double header of music now. Before then, I want to talk a little bit about the Raja Q3 radio statistics that came out. So the reason why I already had the podcast recorded and I saw this come out, and I thought I need to do this now, not next week, because it'll be old news by then. This is fresh news. All of the statistics have come out, and I'm just pulling up the page right now for Raja. So basically, there's been a lot of additions to the page, as in, you know, a lot of pluses, few minuses, and obviously digital radio is on the up. So if you don't know what Raja is, it's the radio statistics that come in to show you how many people are listening each quarter, if you've gone down, if you've gone up. So you can see all the major ones, like all the BBC radios. You've got things like Kiss FM, Absolute, and things like that. So the BBC national stations. This was the one that got me because I read The NME this morning and The Guardian. Actually, I saw in The Guardian first that Nick Grimshaw is losing listeners again, and I thought, well, you know, that's no surprise, because it's, you know, the radio show and the radio isn't listened to as much. But then I was trying to go a little bit further into it and finding out why. So a few of the statistics from this. So BBC Radio 1 has 9.7 million listeners age 15 plus. I like how they've put this in 15 plus and up, but for nothing else. That was the sort of one major flag up for me at first. So BBC Radio 1 has 9.7 million listeners aged 15 plus and up from 9.59 million last quarter, but down from 9.87 million last year. So this is just in the last quarter. So from the last quarter it was 9.59 million listeners, and now it's 9.7. And BBC Radio 1 Extra has just over 1 million, again aged 15 plus across the period. Radio 2 is 15.36 million, up from 15.4 last year. So the Chris Evans Breakfast Show attracted 9.5 million compared to 9.01 last quarter and 9.6 million last year. So you can see he's obviously doing better. Radio 4 is, I believe, doing better. Only down by 0.1%. But they're still reaching 11.2 million people, which is astonishing. But the big one for me, and this is where the in-depth thought come into this a bit more, is that Radio 6 has a record Q3 in 2017 of 2.43 million weekly listeners from 2.24 last quarter and 2.34 last year. So it's gone up by 9,000, whatever, 2.43 to 2.43 million weekly listeners. So it's gone up, and it keeps on going up. And I just thought, you know, fantastic. It's my favourite radio station. I love it to death. I always listen to it and get new songs from it. I did find a new band, actually, that they had on there, and I cannot remember what their name is unless I have it on here. I do not have it in my new jams playlist. I will have to find it on my new and get it on there. Anyway, so this is where all this sort of stemmed from. So I thought, okay, so the National Breakfast Show, so Nick Grimshaw, this was sort of like the big news, as it were. The next is the Today programme on Radio 4 that has 7.61 million listeners. Chris Evans tops it with 9.3, then it's Radio 4, then it's Radio 1. So Nick Grimshaw has 4.9 million, down from 5.2 this time last year. Now, you think to yourself, okay, so he keeps going down. Now, Radio 1 and BBC are blaming the younger audiences not listening so much because they're always engaged with the internet, which is true. You know, there are less engaged people with radio, with more traditional things like TV. Younger audiences watch YouTube all the time. So I could understand where they're coming from, but then try to put a spin on it. Well, why is BBC Radio 6 always gaining listeners? So surely if you're going along this line that, you know, yes, your demographic is younger, but they've got to go somewhere else in terms of their music consumption. So obviously they'll go to Spotify, or they'll go to Apple Music, or they'll go somewhere else. But I think the other spin on it is that the quality of the music on Radio 1 is not as good as BBC Radio 6. And I am pretty confident in my statement. Now, I don't like top 40 chart stuff. Majority of it. There are a few exceptions. But in terms of the playlists that they have, and the programming that they have with BBC Introducing, I know it's great that they've got this platform of BBC Introducing, but they don't utilise it enough. And I know that they have the conference, and they do a weekly Introducing, but that's not enough. You know, they should have like a whole sort of, maybe not, instead of one new artist of the week, why don't you have 5 and have them all stem from different genres? Just little things like that to sort of broaden the music genre a bit, because I was looking at the playlist and I was looking at the genres breakdown of it, and it's all pop, and it's all R&B, hip hop, dance, electro pop, all of these things. There's nothing else in there. There's, you know, even singer-songwriter, you can't really class anyone in there apart from probably Ed Sheeran. But I mean, most pop artists these days that have, you know, an X amount of followers tend to have at least 3 people writing for them. So can you really call them singer-songwriters anymore? So the theory that I had was that the music on BBC Radio 6, they have complete control over. Nobody tells them to play anything apart from the playlist, of which they don't really play, to be honest. If you look at how many songs they play from the playlist, it's probably 25 to 75 of what they want to play, which is completely different compared to others. So I just think that Radio 1 needs to change in terms of they focus too much on trying to pitch themselves to a younger audience. It wasn't the case back in, 10 years ago. I would happily listen to Radio 1 10 years ago because there was such variety. And yes, there probably was a better skew to rock music back then than there is now. Obviously, hip-hop and grime has sort of taken over the scene, as did like punk rock 10 years ago. Pop punk 10 years ago. But I just feel like there's no control anymore. Like they're forcing it. So whenever I hear Radio 1, it's very forced, and it's very like, shoved down your throat and trying to be YouTube. They are basically trying to be YouTube, but without any visuals, and it's not working. And especially, Nick Grimshaw, I know he does very well for himself, and obviously he got onto Radio 1 and the major breakfast show. But I just feel like there's too many games and there's too much stuff like that. Like, I know they have their live lounge, which is pretty good because you get to hear the songs from a different perspective, but it's just something not quite there. And I feel like I kind of want to flip the BBC with Radio 6 and Radio 1 on its head, and have the BBC 6 presenters at Radio 1, there's on 6 Music, have 6 Music as the key to pop and places like that. It doesn't serve its purpose on Radio 1 anymore. I feel like it should be flipped over, so Radio 6 has this amazing contrast of all this different music. I mean, maybe because it'd be Radio 1, it would be toned down a little bit, but at least these presenters know what they're talking about and they love that sort of music. I don't get that vibe from the Radio 1 presenters. I just feel like they're playing the songs because they're on there, and yes, they may enjoy the more hip-hop, grime, pop, R&B scene, but look at Radio 1 Extra. That is for that. That is for, hip-hop and R&B and grime, etc. That's what I know it for, whereas it's now shifted to Radio 1 and the losers are listening out. So no wonder why these other radio stations are going up, because the audience is going somewhere else, because it's crap. Every time I've tuned in, I just turn it off just because it's crap. And the quality of music has gone down in pop music considerably in the last 5 years. But I think flip Radio 6 and flip Radio and 1 on their heads. Have Sean Keaveney do Breakfast, or add one or two of them in from Radio 2 back to Radio 1. They're too young at Radio 1. I find that they've not got the knowledge and the musical know-how to make a good show. It's entertaining, don't get me wrong, but the music quality and the music choices need to be better, because there's not that much support for bigger artists. There's not much support for as in like bigger artists for for your Bonobos, your Mogwais, your Depeche Modes, like those kind of artists that are massive, but there's no support for them. And you might get the odd Foo Fighters song, but that's because they're one of the biggest rock bands in the world right now. You won't get fucking Black Foxes on there that often, or True Thoughts of Label in Brighton on there that often, if ever. I don't think they've ever been on it. Anyway, so if you had 6 music presenters on Radio 1, then I reckon that would be a very good situation, because then you have the music knowledge there. It's good entertainment. They do a really good show. All of them do. And they're very, very passionate about their music. And I feel like BBC have lost their way a little bit with more the entertainment side than the music side. I think my rant's over, and the cat has not wailed. Not from my head. I can't hear it from my headphones, so that's a good sign. So let's move on to the double header of music. So we're going to have White Moth, Black Butterfly. And this is from their album Atone. So I'm technically cheating here, but I don't care. I've been rambling on for quite some time, so it's already nearly half an hour long. So I've been rambling for at least 10 minutes. So this is White Moth, Black Butterfly. Now the reason why I want to do this is because the introduction song I Incarnate into the next song Rising Sun worked too perfectly for me to not use. So even though this is only 6 artists, still 7 tracks, but they go into each other beautifully. Anyway, let's listen to it, and I'll get back to you in a bit. So yes, folks, the lovely, lovely White Moth Black Butterfly with the songs I Incarnate straight into Rising Sun from their album Atone. Do go check it out. I'm going to be very quick now from now on because I rambled on way too long. But yeah, I wanted to get that off my chest, and I hope you either agree or disagree, but let me know either way. I'd like to start a conversation about this. I think it'd be really cool to, just I want to know your thoughts, even if they're negative. Be like, Lewis, you're talking crap, I love Radio 1, I love its concept, etc, etc. Let me know. Anyway, so Hold On by Childish Japes is up next from the album After You're Born, and then we're going to have that 8-minute song, but let's listen to Hold On.
Still stark raving in the middle of the park blazing. It's like a living piece of art, don't even start changing. Even just to fiddle with it, shit, it would be heartbreaking. Right now this means a bit to me, so now I'm trying to speak with Sweetie, you've been hitting it to me. If you alive during the Renaissance, around during the peak, there be paintings of you hanging in museums as you speak. Now hold on. In a good mood, right? Blue light special when you're stressed, I start a food fight. Sign a piece of paper and put it under the loot site to prove something you can't even prove. I'm thinking it through like you've been putting out as and we've been hitting the bed. But if I've been putting out as in letting you in my head, I don't believe in horoscopes or the tarot cards that you read. But when it said cancers make passionate love, they had me beg. I'm just joking, I know you're on it though. I'm on my best behavior from now on, I'm on the honor roll. I'm entertaining, making you honest, woman Geronimo. But for now, I'm patiently waiting to go again. Now hold on. Hold on. But for now, I'm patiently waiting to go again. Now hold on. Hold on. But for now, I'm patiently waiting to go again. Now hold on. It's gonna get you. People on the prize, I paint a picture, hold on. We gon' play that shit again, cause I feel it. Tell me it's the realest, hold on. If there hasn't yet, it's gon' get you. People on the prize, I paint a picture, hold on. We gon' play that shit again, cause I feel it. Tell me it's the realest, hold on. Hold on. For now, patiently waiting to go again. Now hold on. But for now, patiently waiting to go again.
You know what, there is one thing that I do enjoy is a freaking good rap artist, and Childish Japes with Sicky Brett is definitely a great marital duo, and with their song Hold On, which is from the album After You're Born, is definitely one of those examples. I just love the flow of it, and I'm just a lover of these sorts of artists incorporating all these instruments into their music, instead of using these artificial ways. The guitar, the bass really comes through really nicely, and just a very nice rounded overall song. So one more song for you from the Southern Bells, but we will get onto that in a second. This is the end of the Music Scout podcast, episode 43. Your 30 minutes ish are up. And now we shall get on to the socials. So obviously I want to start this conversation about all this about the radio. And so email is themusicscoutpodcast@gmail.com. Facebook is facebook.com/themusicscout, and Twitter is themusicscout with a little underscore, and the website is www.themusicscout.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me, and I know I've had some emails recently saying that they are massive fans of the podcast and their suggestions. Thank you so much for that, because it means the world to me to see people appreciating the work that I put into it, but also I appreciate you for listening in as well. It means the world that I see even just an email saying, "Hey Lewis, I love the show." Literally means the bloody world to me. So keep them coming, because it motivates me to bring you all of this, and it motivates me to talk about all these different pieces of music. And we are nearly at 40 minutes, folks, so I better shut the hell up. So this song, called LA Moves by the Southern Bells, is an interesting one, because your brains are about to get racked. So this song, I believe, starts in 4/4, then it goes to 7/4, then it goes to 5/4, then back to 7/4, and then maybe 4/4 or a 3/8 or 3/4. You can get the gist where I'm coming from. So be prepared to have your brains racked. But this isn't like a prog rock song. This isn't Dream Theater or anything. These guys have incorporated these different time signatures in a sort of indie song, and it's really cool. I love it, and it's 8 minutes long. Doesn't feel like 8 minutes long, but it's fantastic, and I urge you all to go check out the Southern Bells' EP as well, In the Middle of the Night. The Southern Bells, which is the Southern, and Bells, which is BELLES. I will speak to you guys next week. Don't let your brains get too muddled up by this next song. I do apologise. So anyway, have a good week. Enjoy the song and stay safe. Ta Rah.
Leave all things behind with you to get a room with an ocean view. And if my room seems out of reach, you can always find me on the beach. Look at the sun, it's getting higher, and all the sand is getting lighter. The moon at last has been outshined, it's getting lighter outside, lighter outside.
Fill me up till I fall down. The sun's coming up without a sound. This is our chance to make a break. They fell behind sometime yesterday. A drop of sand could make this sound, echoing its way through the ground. The light hits you good, so
everything that I brought to get me home, and you're not answering the phone. Probably because I left you on the hook to pay the rent, to live a life under the stars, but it ain't working out at all. So if you think that you could spare a little cash to get me there, and it would really help, 'cause if I stay in this town one more night, I swear to God I'm gonna kill someone, that's right. And if I stay in this town one more night, I swear to God I'm gonna kill someone, that's right. And if I stay in this town one more night, I swear to God I'm gonna kill someone, that's